Hello, everyone. I hope you hear and see me well. I hope all of you are aware of the role of cybersecurity and are fans of cybersecurity as well as ourselves. And well, today I'm excited to talk on Lemon for Lemon.io about cybersecurity, and we have a special guest. I'm delighted to introduce an esteemed speaker. He is Yuriy Shapovalov, a renowned CISO with over 20 years of experience, beginning with software engineering, IT, and ending with cybersecurity. So, hello, Yuriy. How are you today?
Hi, Nazar. I'm great. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you for visiting us. It's a pleasure that you have time and ability to be on this event. Please, just in a couple of words or sentences, could you just explain before starting what is the purpose, what you are going to talk about today?
Absolutely, yes. I noticed that the subject of cybersecurity is not covered well in last period of time. It's pretty hot topic with a lot of different things happening. It's very growing and have a lot of different contexts. But it's kind of omitted in some of the contexts in many places. So that's why I decided to reveal a little bit what happening, because there is an information, but usually it's outdated information. So I want to present just the new frontiers of cybersecurity today.
Okay, so well, sounds reasonable. So summarizing, we're going to talk about like in general about cybersecurity, general threats, and I think you're gonna help you're gonna share some of your maybe secrets or advices for all of the viewers, all the listeners, for to maintain their cybersecurity and to keep their information and data in private.
Yeah, that's right. I want to start, for broad audience, I want to start with explaining about cybersecurity in general, what it is. Maybe someone would be interested to follow the path of cybersecurity, and that would be a good start for them. Then I want to present the trends, so what's new in cybersecurity for more experienced guys who know the basics. And then I want to share advices, relevant advices in nowadays, how to protect yourself, for software engineer, how to protect your code, for working people, how to protect the business they're working with. So I believe that would be very helpful for everyone.
Okay, so feel free to start, please.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So yeah, I want to present, as I said, the cybersecurity subject in general, and I said it, I name it like a navigating the modern threat landscape. As again, I want to make it as relevant as possible. So that would be the information from nowadays, what the problems cybersecurity faced, and anything else about it. So. As I said, so I start with introduction about cybersecurity, explain what it is, what part of cybersecurity exists. Then we'll switch to trends, for this year. There is a lot of things changing, new attacks, new vectors, and all other things. Some of them just reinvention the previous known attacks, but with a new concept, with new ideas. So it's a very dynamic world of cybersecurity, and I want to highlight it. And then, yeah, just a summarize. I want to present the brief list of how to survive in the reality of cybersecurity, cyber world nowadays. So what you need to do, I don't want to have another security awareness training. You might already have dozens of this on your daily activities. So feel free to ask questions. I will try to answer on them. And let's begin. So where am I? Currently, I'm Chief Information Security Officer. I worked a lot with security. I was a security architect. I was a software engineer. Previously, I had projects when I was a CTO. In total, I have 20 years experience in IT industry, and most of my experience was associated with security from different angles: security development, compliance, security penetration testing, and so on. So the first question you might have, what is cybersecurity in general? Because it's a term and there is different meanings of that term. So there is another meaning like information security, another term which cover the same, but usually the information security is more broad explanation of security, but cybersecurity is just the security of IT system. When information security, it might be security on premises, the documentation, physical access, and so on. So cybersecurity, as the best term I found, is the practice to deploy people, policies, and processes to protect organizational assets. It's very, very rich topic, and it usually have subtopics behind. So the idea is to protect organization, protect yourself from digital attacks. So there is like a, the good guys and bad guys. The cybersecurity combine it all together, and they are all in one, like in one world. One try to protect something which need to be protected. Otherwise, other guys try to attack it and obtain the information, make some harm and different kind of things. So speaking about the verbs of what cybersecurity is concerned, is to identify the security problems inside whatever it is. If we are talking about organization, it will be organization. Let's talk about organization for simplicity. To protect, the second one, so if you identify the issue and potential threat, you look in the way how to protect it, how to avoid any compromisation of that asset. But anyway, it might happen and you need to be able to detect it. So you need to be able to detect if something bad happens, and that's another activities. If you detect it, you need to do something. You need to respond on it, and you need to respond as fast as possible. You need gracefully take some actions to mitigate it. And then, as the last step of it, it's like recovery, because you don't know what happens during that period of time, and you need to understand that. You need to return everything back as it should be after to recover from that security incident. So, cybersecurity landscape, with which things cybersecurity works. That's the good explanation about the cybersecurity. So it's not, cybersecurity does not bring money to organization, but it's about to protect what they currently have and what they have, to not lose the money. So usually organizations do not invest a lot of money inside the cybersecurity unless they have compromised once they have a problem. Then they start to rethink about the cybersecurity and start to run some programs, hire security personnel who is competent to protect some things. But it's very important to understand that the fastest you start, the less problems you have in future. In cybersecurity, it's really relevant. So as a cybersecurity expert, and every day they faced with users, with devices, protecting devices, with network protection, and with business system. It can be a website, it can be some products the company develop. And for the users, there is a question to everyone to think what percentage of security incidents caused by user mistakes. It can be weak passwords, it can be accidental sharing of information. You can just make the important document and send it by email to someone who shouldn't obtain it, or it can be a phishing attack. Someone click the links and download the virus on his PC. So I think you have a number in your head. So according to statistics, 96% of all security incidents caused by people and problem created by people with data. So in many when someone think about cybersecurity, they thinking about the network usually, about the devices, but people is out of scope usually. And but in real life, security experts should concentrate like 96% of their time to making sure the users are aware of security issues. They're aware of how to deal with information. So it can be dozens of trainings. So the cybersecurity is the subject who's responsible to select the proper awareness trainings. So they need to make sure that people pass the trainings. So they also need to control and manage privileges. Another important topic, so to everyone have the amount of rights to work, but not enough to make the harm to organization. And it's kind of trade-off, so between the security and usability. And as a security professional, you need to find the proper threshold, because you, as one of the security experts says, cybersecurity choose how to die from angry users who don't have permissions to work, or from heart attack when the same user click wrong link and download some virus on his PC. So cybersecurity manage policies, processes, and keeping the helpline. Helplining probably he stayed on the last here, but that's believe the most important one, dealing with the users. If you open as a security expert to the organization and people in organization, and they can write you anytime, literally, to address their problems, you will prevent a lot of issues. Next one is devices. So people work with devices, laptops. Nowadays, when people work remotely, it's even more complex because it's hard to control devices and how people treat the devices. They can use the same devices for work and for recreational activities. They can take these devices to restaurants, to work in shopping malls, in airport, connect to Wi-Fi's, and so on and so on. So if one device of corporate network would be malicious, it can attack the whole network and can spread the virus inside the organization. So the protection of devices is another important topic the security experts focusing on. Next one is networks. So the corporates, companies, use networks. They have on infrastructure. Nowadays, a lot of infrastructure moved to cloud. It remove a lot of problems, but bring new one. So previously the network and data center was one of the most secure place inside the organization building. They try to protect any access to this and so on. Nowadays, it's protected by cloud providers, if we are talking about the cloud. But anyway, it's stored somewhere. You need to properly set up everything. There is a lot of configuration. New skills need to be developed for the people to start properly work with clouds, because the cloud bring even more complex system, and more complex system bring more problem associated with it. The monitoring, another one. So this system need to be monitored, because if you not looking for the problem, you will not find it for sure. You need to control the ports. You need to understand the servers, what is internet facing, what is a private, and so on. Last one, business systems. So that's the most known as the websites. A lot of organizations, digital organizations who have websites, and that's the main business assets they have. So as a security professionals, one of the responsibilities to define the quality gates for product release. It means to making sure that the product is properly tested, does not have vulnerabilities, known vulnerabilities, do a lot of preparation to making sure it's in good shape to be public, the client data will not be stolen, and so on. So the penetration testing is one of the responsibilities. It's very big area of activities. Usually this separate professionals working in it, a lot of separate companies who supply the penetration testing work in the industry do pretty well job, and it's interesting job opportunity. It's very challenging, and you can gain pretty interesting skills. Another one is security monitoring. Again, you need to monitor your website. You need to describe the procedure to monitor. I believe there is a lot of web developers in the presentation, and you know how it works on your project, and probably the lot of things you might miss because no one just looking at the problem. So that's another concern which interesting for security experts. Before we move next, I want to describe the types of cyber attacks, because it would be important to understand next. As I mentioned, in roughly speaking, we can separate the cybersecurity world into the offensive, someone who tried to attack data companies, obtain some information, and another one is like of defense, someone who tried to protect it. And types of cyber attacks is one is pretty simple, random and short term. It's usually scripted. So there is plenty of scripts. So there is plenty of tools everyone could use. There is the websites and YouTube videos with explanation how to use the tools. And literally speaking, you can watch 30 minutes video about how to use Metasploit, for example, and you're capable to do something. Again, it's illegal to do so for someone's environment, but you can play with your own environment. You can set up test environment on your machine and practice. But it's not harm a lot because it's very easy to protect from these types of attack. These attacks usually broadcast, so it's not try to target you specifically because it's very difficult. There is a chance to 1 in a million would be vulnerable for this type of attack. So they not trying to attack one by one, they just send a couple of millions requests, and for sure they have 2 or 3 victims, and they can proceed with attacks. And this usually not very long time. So if you, for example, start experience some attacks on your website, it might be just for a couple of days if it's this first type of attack. The second one is APT, or Advanced Persistent Threat. So that's more complex attack. I mean, it requires much more skillful people to conduct. It's multi-staged, so it starts from recognition, usually involve multiple people. They usually target high-level organization, and anyway, it's all about money. So they try to make money from that organization, and they target it for someone who can give that money to them, or they can steal the money from them. They usually, again, they carefully pick up the target before the starting attack, and the types of attack can last for years and can be successful. It may be completed attacks, so they might enter the network, enter on premise, and have the code there, which constantly give the information, and they constantly have access to that organization to steal everything they want, but the organization is not aware of that. And this unawareness may take years, and the organization think everything is fine, so they comply, they're happy, but no, actually it's not. So briefly, why it matters? A little bit statistics here. I found the statistics, pretty good statistics for UK, but it's worldwide statistic, but it's focused on UK. So average cost of data breach for UK, it's 4,020 pounds. It's around 5,000 US dollars. It is attack because it's attack not only for organization, but for people. That's the average across the all victims. And as you can see here, the amount of attacks, successful attacks, rapidly growing. Social media hacking increased by 23% in 1 year, and in general, cybercrime increased by 40%. That's especially for UK. As you can see, that's the statistic of amount of successful attacks. And for 1 million of people in that year, 4,000 people, almost 5,000 people will be successfully attacked. They might lose money, they might lose identity, and so on. So that's very rapidly growing market. Speaking about the market, or about the revenue, so if cybercrime were measured as a country, it would be the third largest economy in the world. So in the revenue, it's $9 trillion in 2024, 8 for now. But again, as you see, it's growing even faster than US and China economy. So again, compromised electronic records. As you can see, 33 billion records was compromised in 2023. Which is more than amount of people living on the planet. So you might think that every person was compromised. Some data about the person was leaked multiple times to the internet, become available to, you don't know to whom, but you don't know how this information would be utilized. So that's that's pretty fearing statistic. And interesting thing about the pandemic, when COVID happens, experts predict that the amount of cybercrime will decrease, but actually it was otherwise. It increased by 125%. Well, and another problem which might happen nowadays associated with layoffs of big company, as you're aware of Google, a layoff 11,000 people this year, previous year, and end of previous year and this year. So a lot of technical professional people losing the job and might choose another path. So in having this trend, we expect it might happen again, and layoffs of tech company may lead to the increase in cybercrime. When you think about the company and how company react on the threat, You might think it's happening like next day. So, okay, guys. So, in the morning, security experts go to the office, find he was attacked, the company was compromised, and he raised the flag and starting to recover. But actually, it's not. The average time for company to discover the bug, to cyber attack, successful cyber attack, is 277 days. So it's almost a year, and during that time, they do not take any actions to prevent that problem. And another statistic is that it's if this time would be reduced to 200 days, it would save like $1 million for the company, because the more time pass, the more problem it creates, more financial problems. As you can see, the ransomware, pretty common types of attack nowadays, rapidly growing, and it will grow significantly it grows significantly already comparing to 2015, in 57 times comparing to 2021, and another almost 10 times in 2031. So we definitely need to be careful about this type of attack. I will explain what the ransomware a little bit later. And on average, again, according to statistics, your computer attacked 40, a lot of time during the day. So every 39 seconds, it is usually automated attacks, and your computer can handle it, but if you have proper setup on your computer. But it's very active world nowadays, and you need to really be careful. Having the statistic, you can understand, so you're in danger and you need to take some actions. But there is some actions. You're not alone. There is a lot of company who protecting and know how to handle this situation. And the data breach, as you can see, so the data breach really cost a lot to organizations. So the usually significant average data breach can cost like 4 or 5 million to the company, and that's including the significant reputation change, the reputation loss, and financial loss. They usually have a lot of problems with clients, clients complaining about something. They start in some courts, and actually a lot of consequences for organization to deal with these types of problem. So, okay, what's new in 2023? Probably the biggest trend nowadays is zero trust security. Maybe you heard this term, maybe not, but previously it was an assumption that you have like internet and extranet. So extranet is something you own, and internet is the like wild space when everything can have, and you have some kind of network edge, and behind this network edge everything is insecure. Inside your network everything is secure, but it leads to the situation when the company pay less or no attention to the securing the internal things inside the organization, and it lead to the like problem when attackers identify the most vulnerable part of your network, successfully attack it, and having access to entire network. And doesn't matter what kind of protection you have to the frontier. Maybe you have very hardened web server which is facing internet, but at the same time your accountants use the old PC machine which connected to the same network. And what the reason for security criminals to attack your web server when they can attack the accountant machine and then gain access to the files of any server inside the organization. by leveraging privileges, for example. The zero trust stands that the never trust, always verify. So that's the model of building whatever it is. The application, the solutions, microservice, for example, works pretty well. You develop the microservice. You use the cloud segmentation. So you segment the network into small chunks, and you specify the particular rules how one server can communicate with another one. You really whitelist the things which can pass. And for criminals, it's really hard to work with that environment because they can't use their known tools. They restrict it at any place, so they can't proceed. You limit the privileges to the servers as to least as possible to operate. And again, it cannot, even if it's tampered, if one service is tampered, it does not mean that the whole your system is tampered. You can just work on recovering the damaged system, but not your whole organization. And the probably one of the most beneficial part here is component end-to-end protected communication channels. So they use SSL channels between the services and the certificate. They issue a certificate, and each service has their own certificate and can communicate. And you can adjust trust between the services with the certificate. So it not accept message without the certification sign. So that's like new frontiers nowadays. So use of artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence is heavily utilized by cyber criminals. So first of all, the problems they previously have is how to scale their types of attack. For example, you are a scammer who send the spam like million emails, and if you have respond, you need to respond to that, and but you are limited to one person. The AI allows to use the capability of AI to generate maybe better text for attackers for spam, and expand the type of attack. So it's advanced phishing attacks as well. The evil chatbots. So there is a lot of chatbots which can lead to steal your money. And if the people behind the chatbot, it takes a lot of time for that people. But if it is like automated chatbot, it can lead to the problem for the people. The password guessing, another interesting technique revealed by a DEF CON organization. DEF CON, there is the conference of cybersecurity experts who usually explain the different types of attacks, and they use artificial intelligence to analyze people by their social networks. And by this, they can generate the passwords with satisfy which much easy to guess. So for example, if they know that you have a dog, they might try to use some libraries with dog names to use as a password, and so on. So there is a lot of techniques. And again, to find and exploit vulnerabilities before they are patched. That's another topic. If you ask ChatGPT, for example, can you help me to hack someone? It refuses because it says I'm not doing that. I'm acting legally and great and ethically. But again, that's because it was programmed this way. Another chatbot might try to do so, and it's a matter of training. Deepfake, again, it's artificial intelligence. Ukrainian people are aware of these types because the video or photo I have here is the real video which appeared when the Russian-Ukrainian war started, and it was deployed probably by Russians and tried to convince Ukrainian people that the president of Ukraine saying that we are defeating and so on and so on. So, and this is fearing one. And just imagine the situation that you're working and you have a call from your boss from unknown number, but you open the video call and it's your boss, you see his face, and he asks you for a favor to give him access to somewhere because he's lost his PC or whatever it is. And will you refuse this request or no? So a lot of people will not refuse it because they trust that what they see, but it might be fake. That's another types of attack nowadays. Phishing resistant MFA. What it means? So a lot of MFA is multi-factor authentication. So when you authenticate, when you do something, you first of all, when you authenticate somewhere, you type your password. But then you need to use another authentication mechanism to confirm that it's you, because password might be guessed, it might be leaked, or whatever. And for financial operations, for example, it's very important to double check because someone might run the transactions instead of you. And usually you have the number from your bank to your SIM card or to phone to confirm it's you. But it's surprisingly easy to change the SIM card, to swap the SIM card. And SIM swapping attack is the not new types of attack, but very severe in nowadays. So the attacker just calling your operator, he knows information about you. The information can be leaked from websites. So he knows a lot of information, for example, whom you call, and usually that information is enough for a mobile operator to issue a new card. So they call in and impersonating you, saying, okay, sorry guys, I lost my card. Can you help me to restore it? That's the information I have about myself. That's the last numbers I called. And usually operators issuing a new cards, and using this that card, they can just have the codes from bank to confirm the money transfer operations. And a lot of work nowadays is on the fixing that problem, to how to find the multi-factor authentication which does not have these types of attack. So good advice here: if you if you use mobile phone in 2023, you can call your operator and ask them to not issue a new card instead of you visiting the office by yourself and presenting the passport. Usually they can say, okay, that's fine, we will do that. And it prevents them to issue your card to someone else. So you can protect yourself from this SIM swapping type of attack. Zero-day vulnerabilities. Again, that's an interesting topic nowadays. What is zero-day vulnerabilities? You might hear of term of ethical hacking. So ethical hacker is the security professional who might work independently and find the security vulnerabilities in the system. But he is ethical because he reveals his findings to the company who own that product, and the company have time to fix the bug before he can disclose it to public. 0 days is the issue which disclosed at the day of findings or leaving no time for developers to solve the problem. So that means that it is unpatched and can really cause significant harm to the companies. A big company offers bounties, so money, if you reveal the problem to them. And some organization can give you $100,000 if you discover the issue and inform them in advance, so they have time to fix the issue. But at the same time, the dark market offers usually 5-10 times more, and it challenges the hackers to be ethical or not ethical. Ethical is you can earn less, but it's your money, and no one will try to catch you for illegal activities. But dark market offered 5-10 times more, and it's a moral choice of people to proceed in any direction. So, and again, the market is growing. So there is the website who's selling this 0-day vulnerabilities. It's like an asset. If you find something, it can cost a lot of money. But yeah, I believe if you follow the path, you will follow the ethical hacking path. Evolution of ransomware. So the ransomware, I previously mentioned what it is. For those who don't know, that's the types of viruses which encrypt the information on your computer. And then he ask money for decrypted back. Ukraine, again, was very affected by the ransomware. There is the NotPetya types of attack. It was one of the ransomware. I was on incident response team. When it happens, the organization was severely affected. All servers of organization was encrypted, and there was no key, and the company was ready to offer huge amount of money to the hackers to decrypt, but we quickly realized that there is no decryption, so it's not possible to decrypt. So the developers who create the decryption mechanism create mistakes, and decryption does not work whatever you put it. So it's encrypted one way, and there is only one. It was as always, the companies like top 50, 500 biggest companies, but they don't have backup. But luckily, they restored the environment because in Africa they have the office, which have no light for a long period of time, and because of that, the service was not affected because there is no light, there was off. And only this way they restore their infrastructure. And as I said, the ransomware is growing. The market is very significantly growing nowadays and will grow in future. Wi-Fi and IoT devices. And another vector of attacks. So there is a term of Wardriving, when someone drive the machine across the city and use device as described on the picture above. So it's just a Wi-Fi scanner. It can try to connect, and when he tried to connect, he used the authentication key, and using this authentication key, he can try to decrypt it at home, for example, or using random rainbow tables mechanism. So he mapped the Wi-Fi's, which is not protected by GPS, and he has a map of the places which, with Wi-Fi points, he can hack. If he can hack Wi-Fi network, he can deploy anything he wants to this machine. He can sniff the traffic. He can actually do whatever he wants. It depends on his qualification, but it's the first step of attack was passed. And funny things, as you've seen, the cat and the collar. So they nowadays use cats, and they use devices which can be hidden in collar, and cats walk across the cities and scanning the Wi-Fi networks. Maybe they're going to use pigeons, and we'll put in big trouble. But yeah, it's not so far right now. Right, moving on. The interesting topic. Also not new, but having the new trends in this year and previous year, and physical on-premise compromising. So the question is why to hack remotely if you can enter the office and deploy attack node inside the office. So for the people who work in the office nowadays, they use the hoteling schema when you not always work in the office, and personnel does not recognize all the employees who work there. The device you can see here can be bought on Amazon for $40, and this card duplicator. If you use access card to enter your office, so this can be duplicated with this device remotely. Using the antenna, it can be duplicated from 10 meters. So if you walk in the office with that kind of device, in like 30 minutes, you will have like a 50 or even more access cards to enter the building, and you can make a copy and enter the building. And then you can buy another $100 tool set, absolutely legal on Amazon, and deploy it, just insert it inside the socket into the machine, and that's it. You're inside the premise. Okay, that's next subject is, I believe you're already afraid of how to live in that world, but the recommendation how to survive in that scenarios. First of all, the couple of recommendations is build up your social engineering immunity, understand what is capabilities of AI, be aware of what can do, and if you work in organization, because it can be even personal things and organizational things, with your relatives, agree about some communication channel you use. And for example, as a call, someone can call you, your relatives, say they're in trouble, make sure you call it back. Make sure you use maybe some backup channel to make sure that you're speaking with your relative. You know the person who you speak to. Always confirm the actions and never try not to take decision in rush. So that's how security, social engineering works. They try to offend you. They try to you to act in rush. So you make a lot of mistakes in that case. Protect your digital identity. So set up MFA whenever possible. Most of the sites nowadays support MFA, so that's the good way to protect yourself, to set up MFA. It will not save you from stealing the identity from the server, from the company, but at the same time, it will not act on behalf of you on that organization if that organization would be compromised. The password manager. Another important one. For a long time, I was negative about the password manager because there was LastPass, for example, you're aware of. The password manager was hacked and all password was leaked. So it was not very good. But even worse situation when you use the same password across the different websites and you don't know when one of the website would be compromised and your identity would be leaked. It can be used to access your other website when you reuse your password. So it's pretty dangerous. And for sure, you can't remember all passwords from all systems you currently use, but Password Manager can help you to do so. Secure your social media. Just a good advice not to post some personal things which can be used by cybercrime to gain more information about you. Be mindful here. And be careful with public Wi-Fi, because that's probably one of the most place the people lose their passwords, lose their identities, and so on. Harden your equipment. So you work on PC, make sure it's updated, make sure you use antivirus, firewall, and pretty good antivirus and firewall. There is plenty of options nowadays. And to protect yourself from ransomware, probably the best option would be to create offline backup of your files, because the ransomware nowadays use zero-day vulnerabilities, and even the vulnerabilities unknown to the public, to the mass, and you're unprotected from these types of attacks. So having the backup will at least save your files, and maybe not the most recent one, but at least something. And don't put unknown USB sticks into your PC. There is another things like USB sticks, which can have a label like the BTC coins there and can be dropped across the city. You can pick up, okay, I found the Bitcoin. Let me see how much I have here. and you will be hacked this way because it's a very, very common vector of attack. Right, so for organization, okay, if you work in an organization, maybe small organization, and the organization doesn't have big budget for security, what you can do as an engineer, as a team, you can play the role game, security-oriented role game, role play with red and blue team. So the main idea is you split by two teams. One is the red team, it's offensive security team, as blue team is defensive security team. And you just spend some time, the red team, trying to attack the website, whatever you have, infrastructure. Of course, ethically, not try to steal anything and sell, but they just trying to reproduce the real attacks. They trying to use social engineering. They can impersonate someone to see how the people behave in this situation or exploit some vulnerabilities. And the blue team try to protect, try to identify the issues. So that's, in my practice, that's the very cheap but very effective way how to improve security of organization dramatically in a very short period of time. It's really to engage people in these types of activity because it's fun. First of all, it's allow people to grow their maturity and security, and I'm a big fan of that approach. Another one is big bounty. A lot of companies avoid these types of programs, but what is big bounties? As a company, you offer some reward for everyone who identifies security issue inside your organization, inside your program, if they disclose it to you before they disclose it to public. And usually the security professionals, if they find some vulnerabilities, they have choose again to pass a couple of directions. The legal path is to notify the company and have the big bounty, bug bounty, and another one is to exploit it and become a criminal. The big bounty is really significant motivator for people to follow the right path, and it's good for people, it's good for organization because they just pay some fixed amount of money but not lose huge amount of money. And a couple of words about security coding, just in brief. I don't know how many developers here, but probably my advice here would be to familiarize yourself with OWASP Top 10. Very simple ideas, but it's updating from year to year. Now edition it's to 2023, actually the new one. And it's easy to read, just you can spend an evening to read, but it gives you the highlight what's the problem in security coding nowadays. Another one is use security code analytics tools. Again, that's the thing, if you don't have it in your organization, you can propose it tomorrow, or not tomorrow's Saturday, on Monday, for example. And yeah, that's would be a big win. It will identify a lot of vulnerabilities, so it finds vulnerabilities much better than as an average developer, for example. If you're a security professional, maybe you find more, but if you are not, if you're an average developer, even senior, lead, whatever, the tool doing better to identify them. Handle error securely. If you drop an error and do not display it to the web page, if you're working with the website, try to hide this information, because the errors is the best tool for criminals to reveal information about your system. And care about your secrets. So a lot of problems caused because the secrets just published in repository in open state without any encryption. So API keys, certificates, DB strings. So it sounds simple, but I know dozens of organizations who violate the simple rules Some of them doesn't have problem before and not having problem right now, but there's like a time bomb sitting in somewhere in their organization and might explode anytime. So next one is check default securities and configuration settings of the dependency you have. If you work with with a database, which is by website, make sure the database doesn't have default user and default access mechanism, and just harden before release. And another big chunk of problem we have when we start to reinvent authentication protocol, authentication mechanism, trying to implement cryptographic protocol. Maybe we find some cryptographic implementation, but then do not want to use some library. Huge amount of problem with this. It can be vulnerable, it can be easy to attack, and that's create a lot of issues. And the last one, validate user input. It's pretty obvious. Do not use it's for SQL to avoid SQL injections and attacks of these types. Okay, guys, I believe you have a lot of questions and I'm ready to answer. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks for sharing all of this. I'm definitely cannot forget the cat browsing random places and scanning for Wi-Fi vulnerabilities, and this is like pretty can be dangerous. Dangerous cats.
You don't know whom to trust here.
Well, basically, I think you should trust no one.
Yeah, even your own cat.
The first person not to trust is your cat. Yesterday, unfortunately, Kevin Mitnick passed away in the age of 59, and he is known as a godfather of social engineering. I think it's not it's a correct definition of the guy. And what I would like to ask you in terms of remembering Kevin Mitnick is that what's your thought? It's more sophisticated, let's say, more popular nowadays. Social engineering hacks or actual coding hacks?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. It's a really good question. For sure, the social engineering is prevalent nowadays. And speaking about the Kevin Mitnick, by the way, it's a very interesting person. I even have a chance to meet him in person at the conference.
Wow.
And he's very interesting because of his history. Actually, he started doing it when his sister disappeared, and he wasn't the security expert, but when his sister disappeared and there is no actions from police, he started finding her and start to use the different methods to find, and he's pretty persuading to this goal, and that's fascinating. That's impressive. But yeah, nowadays it's really because it's about the thing about money, and usually how the security professionals grow when someone starts to dig deep into the security subject, understand a lot of things. They realize that they can make more money by legal way, just selling his knowledge as a security professional than just do some illegal things. So for technical people, there is a path to big money without violating the law. At the same time, the people with a criminal record realize that they can utilize another path of social engineering because they not require technical skills. So I would definitely sure that it's more problem nowadays, social engineering.
I see a couple of questions from the person whose name I cannot spell. which is the first one is Google Authenticator good enough for 2FA if not connected to the Google account? I will add some context if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So recently, Google Authenticator had very long, like let's say years expected function feature, to have the backup, to connect to the cloud, and to synchronize the accounts that you have. And before that, you had only your smartphone to use it, and if you lose, or like, let's say if you reset your smartphone, you lose all of the code there. So how do you think, is it well good enough, or now it's like another code generator like Authy or Bitwarden? What would you say?
Well, I think it's definitely better than nothing, and but it's not great. Yeah, it's definitely, but these types of attacks nowadays very rarely, because when hackers try to deal with 2FA, they usually give up. So they not trying to proceed because it's complex and there is many paths to follow, much simpler. You don't need to spend a lot of efforts. If someone targets you and you have that set up with Google Authenticator and someone knows how it works, there is a path, there is a way to compromise it. But again, it's not 100% security, but I couldn't say for anything it's not 100% of security, because everything can be hacked, but maybe not hacked yet.
Before that, you mentioned that the way to hack MFA by swapping your
SIM
SIM
swapping,
card,
yeah.
swapping the SIM card. Yeah, thanks. And this seems to be pretty common way of hacking nowadays. So as far as I understood, you're engaging people not to use SMS-based MFA, but to use code generators instead, right?
If you have option, yes, but the problem happen when you don't have an option. A lot of banks, I know, they only have the way of sending the SMS. And here in UK, for example, where I live, I can't have a choice. The bank only send the code. And again, the different places have different rules, and it depends on the place and depends of the organization, banks. Yeah, there is, it's good to have kind of the hierarchy in your head of security. So the less secure is SMS, for example, but again, it's better than nothing. Then you can use the authenticator application. Maybe on top level of security is physical key. So nowadays you can actually choose and pick up the security key, which insert in the USB, which have the pretty secure protocol, encrypted by your key, and you can use it, but not all systems support it. I see the directions to this, so more and more products need starting supporting it, but it's take time, and maybe takes 5 years when it would be common. But yeah, I believe I answered your question.
I have a friend of mine who is well, preoccupied a lot of these kind of vulnerabilities that banks have, and he has a second smartphone with a SIM card with a number that no one knows, and he doesn't use it at all, only for these kind of SMS messages. So, well, it's kind of tricky, but what can work.
Yeah, that's definitely. I believe the mindset is very important. If he think about these capabilities, he is protected. The most problem, because the people doesn't know about this the opportunity, and that's lead to the loss of something.
And also remember, no one can steal your money if you don't have money.
That's true.
Another question, the tricky, by the way, if all the files are on the PC, but engagement with the web is done from virtual machine installed on this PC, does it make it harder for hackers, phishing soft to get it from virtual machine on PC? A good one, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Give me a second to read it. Okay. Good question. That's a really good one. Yes, it is. It's true. It's really hard to hack virtual machine because of presence of it, and even better, there is the specific virtual machines you can use, which is very hardened. Cubes, for example, Tails, another example of these virtual machines. So they supplied already as the image for virtual machine, for the most common, for VMware, for VirtualBox. You can download it, you can deploy it. It takes really less amount of your memory, and it creates the protected environment. It set up the channel, VPN channel, to the, well, it depends what you need. You can specify your own VPN endpoint, or you can use Tor network, for example, to anonymize yourself and have a layer of security. And you can use that virtual machine. You can use, as it called, the virtual machine which does not record any information. So when you run machine, you run a blank machine. It does not have any ability to save information on this virtual machine. So in that environment, no virus is capable to do any harm to this machine. Yeah, so that's another option. So yeah, that's the good one. The answer is yes. Using the virtual machine is more secure than.
I think you can just make it isolated, so the virtual machine won't have access to the actual files on the other part of the machine, right?
Yeah, you set up the access, for example, for in VirtualBox. You can set up a sharing of files, so you can set up the folder on your physical machine, which would be visible to virtual machine and otherwise, and you can use as a protected environment. And it depends on your needs. If you work in some dangerous environment, you know that might be might have viruses, or if you work, for example, that's the security professionals when they working with viruses who analyze the viruses, they use that virtual machines. They can versioning it, so you can install the viruses, understand how it works. So that's the technique the security professionals use to reveal more information about the viruses.
Yeah, it's good when you can just turn the machine off, the virtual one, and swipe all the information, and that's it. Your computer is totally clean after that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ben Jerry asks, can someone skim your SIM card at an event, like with some type of scanner?
The card, no, I haven't heard of these types of attack. So the card can, well, they can, if you left your phone, there is a card duplicator. But again, for attacker, they need to have physical access to your phone, but it shouldn't take long. So for a minute, he can copy your card. But again, you need to leave your phone for a minute without your attention. That's a good advice not to do that. Yeah, locked phone. Yeah, exactly. But if it's with you, for example, no, I don't think it's possible. Maybe I don't know but I'm not protecting myself from this type. You know, if I use RFID, for example, I have specific punch for RFID, which is protected from scanning, because I saw how easy to scan RFID from distance, and having proper equipment, you can scan your RFID card, your credit card, from 15 meters for easy, and yeah, you can use it for contactless payment, but again, it's not much, but again, it's something, and probably you won't notice if you just lose $2. You won't even care about it. But if you know someone lose this $2 million time, that's fortune.
You know, I was investigating this type of attacks, and I created a thread on Twitter talking about that, explaining the whole idea of how you can go to the to the underground with a scanner, with a minor scanner in your backpack, and overcrowded place, and just randomly scan all the cars that don't have NFC protection there, and RFID protection there, and you cannot even imagine what kind of criticism I got in an answer. People were saying, "Hey, you're crazy. That is not possible." In Ukraine, we have Monobank. I believe you also use it, or maybe used it before. And Monobank has in their FAQ system, they have explained it that, hey guys, this is a kind of city legend that one can scan your card and create a copy, blah blah blah. And well, they say it's a miracle, it cannot happen. Well, but I don't know what can prevent one from creating a copy of your card if it's not protected.
That's true, yeah.
It's hard to accomplish, of course, but it's possible. What do you think about YubiKeys? Joaquin Nunez asks.
Yeah, it's as I mentioned, it's pretty good thing. It's a physical key to use as the factor authentication, the key you have, and I've got another one, but for the purpose. But I think that's the right direction for company to move to use physical devices for another factor authentication. Maybe in some day it would be not only 2-factor authentication, but maybe 3-factor authentication. Maybe you need to use another mechanism to protect very secure operation. But yeah, that's I support this type of technologies.
What? Well, let's say that you have the YubiKey and you lose it. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, well, you need to. Well, yeah, that's the good point. But you need to lose it to somewhere, and it need to be found by someone who knows how to utilize it. He knows you, he knows your credentials, he knows your first identity, first factor of your authentication, which might be tricky. But otherwise it can be stolen from you. For example, if you using it and bring it with you, that's the common way how the cars stealing in the shopping malls, for example. Nothing fancy, they just pickpocketing your keys while you're making some buyings. So the same things here. If someone knows that he needs to steal it from you, he can do that. That's another type of crime. So it's not cybercrime anymore.
This type of car stealing reminds me of the Bad Santa movie, when he had just clicking the car to see what car would reply and steal it.
Yeah, about car, it's interesting because we spoke about the RFID technologies, and most of the cars nowadays use the same mechanism. They use close proximity of your keys with the car, and you can open the car, enter the car, and turn it on. At the same time, that's very popular nowadays in UK, that you, for example, left your car near your house, and someone who tried to steal your car know where you lives. They bring the huge antenna, which they put to your door, and this transfer the signal back to another person who stay near the car, have another device, and it transfer the keys from your car hob to the car, and he easily open the car. So it's like electric fishing rod or something like that. So that's another way how to open another RF technologies.
Kind of new one. Yuriy, before like more in the beginning of your speech, you mentioned NotPetya virus, and that you were in a team to answer the threat, right?
Absolutely.
And you were analyzing the code, you were analyzing how it works. I was also showing a big interest in this particular virus. And what I saw is when the computer was attacked, and the black screen appeared. You had an information that please transfer like $500 to this Bitcoin number, more or less, and some kind of additional information. What I saw there, that they didn't give a key that you should have provided to the actual hacker, and get the key of the decryption key instead. So, well, in the beginning, the whole virus was probably not working as a ransomware at all. It was just made to make harm to the computer, right? It wasn't intended to decrypt it, right?
Absolutely. Actually, it was in report in later days that actually the intention of a virus was not to ransom, but it was mostly political attack on Ukraine, and it's official information. And but the company I worked was in because that's accounting tool in Ukraine which calls Midoc. All accountants in Ukraine use it. It's for electronic documents for accounting. If you have your company, so you use this tool anyway. You have to use this tool. And the virus was attacked this particular company, this particular service, and it dramatically spread across all the company who had an offices in Ukraine and have used that types of software. And the company I worked have just one PC in Ukraine, in Odessa, and through this PC, the whole infrastructure was affected. But yeah, actually, that's true. It's not for ransom, and it's political attack on Ukrainian governmental organization to make the harm. I remember the time I heard the feedback for the people that they can't enter the subways because of all system down. They can take money from ATM machines because nothing works. So it was like a collapse for a couple of days. Luckily, the Ukraine managed to sort it pretty quickly, I would say. The consequences affect the big companies even more, the government of Ukraine.
As far as I read, the harm was about $10 billion back then, which is impressive. What password manager would you suggest to use for our viewers?
Yeah, it's a matter of preferences. I found it's not advertised, but I prefer Dashline. I make very careful research, to be honest, and I use it in my organization. Probably one of the most hardened the password manager I have. Okay, I need to claim money from them for this, but couple of good tools you might utilize from it. First of all, it gives you free VPN. You can use the VPN for free, and it's very important if you travel somewhere. You don't need to connect to Wi-Fi. You can transfer via VPN, and it has dark web scanner, so it contains all your passwords on your websites, and in case of any website was hacked, it immediately notifies you that, okay, this site is hacked, change the password. Or it shows if you have duplicates of passwords. If you have multiple passwords for some accounts, it's okay to change it, or if you want me to change it automatically, it can do that. So very, very useful thing.
That's great. Thank you for sharing this. I have not, I didn't know about this. This software is pretty interesting. I use Bitwarden, by the way. What do you think about Bitwarden?
Don't have a strong opinion here. I ran the comparison analysis a couple of years ago to choose one. I select one because it has the most functionality. And Potentially, that's a lot of good password managers, I believe, and it depends of the price it asks for service. And even for LastPass, I can't say anything bad about the LastPass. So LastPass was notoriously known because it was hacked, and
Oh yeah.
all accounts was leaked. But they react very gracefully, I would say. They fix the issue very quickly, and now I think it's one of the most secure as well. But again, I can't recommend, I can't guarantee it wouldn't be hacked again. I can't guarantee any other tools wouldn't be hacked in future. So it's, it's kind of dangerous. But again, my point in the presentation, the consequences of not having the password manager is more severe, because I use like thousands, maybe websites I have registered, and it's not possible to remember strong passwords, even 100 of strong passwords in your head. So anyway, you have to use. So you can use offline tools for sure. There is also pretty good tools for Unix, for example, for Linux. You can offline copy of your password. It's not in cloud somewhere, but it's not very easy to use. If you switch from one PC to another, you need to have a way to copy it. You can't copy it just by passing the password through whatever to Messenger. You need to type it, but if you have a password with a gibberish 20 symbols, you just hate that way to work.
Well, I saw an article that was claiming that the browser-based password managers are not a good idea to use, because the developers of browsers, they don't have, well, the goal to create the good password manager. They have a goal to create a good browser. So their
Yeah,
manager
absolutely.
sucks. Password
Absolutely,
manager
absolutely,
sucks.
100%. Yeah, and the same for a firewall, for default firewalls on your machine, the same. So Microsoft does not have good firewall. They just pretending it protects you. The same for password manager. Yeah, but the dash line I mentioned, it is that's their business to have this. That's their main product, and it's embedded in browser. It can be utilized as a plugin inside the browser. And if you need to log in somewhere, you don't need to copy, because if you use, for example, password manager, but you need to copy through buffer, it's also unsecure, because your buffer can be information from the buffer can be stolen, and there is also not. It's another vector for password to be leaked. But if you have, yeah,
Yeah, the
separate tool
buffer
is good.
can be monitored in case of
Exactly, yeah,
some
that's what I
kind
would
of
say.
passwords that appear there. I see another question. Isn't it better for a company to have its own password manager on its own server, like Passbolt or so?
Mm, well, it interesting question again. Another interesting question. It depends on the organization, depends on the people who work in that organization, because you need to understand that that's not always technically savvy people. There is some people in an organization, accounting team, a legal team, who does not very strong in IT, and they might have difficulties to use that way. They need really, really simple tools, but at the same time, this should be like a bulletproof, because they persons the first targets in organization to be hacked. So no one tried to hack lead engineer PC. They will target HR department, legal department, because first of all, they might have more interesting data on these devices. It depends. Yeah, it depends. It needs to be decided for the organization, because that's the matter of risks. Organization take that risk and pay for that risks. If they think the offline password manager on the server would be more secure, that's fine. But again, it's a trade-off between usability and security. You always have to take this trade-off. And in any you can build a digital fortress, but no one want to work there because it would be like nightmare.
Yeah, so true. I think that we are running out of time, and it's time for you to choose the winner for the best question from the chat.
Okay, well, I think I like the question about the virtual machine, and I like that's probably the very interesting one, but very relevant nowadays. So that's my winner.
Yeah. Okay. Now you can see the way to get the prize, which is the lemon.io hoodie. A good one. Even I don't have. Do you have it?
No.
Okay. So the guy from the chat will be the first one from us. Okay. So that's pretty it. Yuriy, thank you a lot for your great presentation and great questions and answers session. It was pretty useful, and I believe our viewers will get a lot of information to think of and to use in future projects and on the way. Well, stay secure. Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Have a good day to everyone.
And feel free to subscribe to lemon.io channel. We are going to make new, more webinars like this. So feel free to share your feedback, and we are all ears. Thank you all for watching us. Have a great weekend, guys.